Hello, hello. Hi, Terry. How are you? Good to see you. Hi, Linda and Tim. Hi, Dorothy. And Peggy, hello. And Joan and Ellen. Sounds like Romper Room, doesn't it? Romper Room roll call. I'm glad you're here. It is a Friday. Friday afternoon. Yes. Better than last Friday for certain. Last Friday, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, got up, came back to bed like just 5 minutes later. Hi, Starla. Hey, Purple Nana Linda. Went back to bed like 5 minutes later. And when I lay down in bed, the whole room went like this. And I'm like, what in the world? Why is this going on? I hadn't had that happen since we were on a cruise several years ago. And that happened to me at the very end of the cruise. And it took a while to get over it. I think it had, in fact, I know it had to do with my ear. I had a really bad ear infection at one point, and things kind of got a little wonky after that, but it's only happened twice, and I'm really grateful that I'm over it. Took several days this time to get over it. Last time it took several weeks, so it's all good. It's all good. Yes, I am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And hello, Sharon. Anybody else that I might not be seeing your name? Terry, I hope you're doing well. Hope everybody's doing well. It happens in your world often. Oh, I'm telling you, that is not fun. I don't know how you deal with it often. Yeah, so it took me a few days to get over it. Of course, the last weekend we spent buying plants and planting things and bending over, and every so often I'd have to be a little careful. I have to say it, be a little careful. Anyway, it was a little wacky. So, but I'm happy to report that I don't have dumb water today. I have smart water, so that should help. Right? It's beautiful weather here today. Whew. Yeah, what we ended up deciding and proved to be true, because as I am wont to do, I will get online and I will look and look and look and look through all the books I have. I have a lot of books on health and healing, and I will go through and then I did not know about that you had crystals in your ear. I don't know why I didn't know that, but I didn't know that. And that sometimes they get out of whack. And when they get out of whack, that can cause real problems. And there's a very simple exercise protocol that you can do to get the crystals to settle back where they're supposed to be in your ear. Twice, that has proven to be the situation for me. We had a physical therapist that she was a student who helped me with Clausman. She would come and stay with him a couple of days a week, couple of afternoons a week for a couple of hours each time, so I could get a break. And so I mentioned it to her, and I said, "Have you ever heard of this?" And she goes, "Oh yeah." She said, "If you want me to help you with it, I'll help you with it." And I think she and I did the exercises. We did them once or twice, and then I had Elton do them with me once. This was because even after Clausman was gone, she would still come over and stay with the animals and stuff like that. Anyway, it's a whole long thing. Anyway, that took care of it. It's crazy. Yeah, so Starla's familiar with that. It's just, I'd never even heard of crystals. I'd never even heard of it. But I've learned. I've gone to school on it. And I can't remember now the exercises, so I have to look them up. some YouTube videos about them, and you can do it. Yeah, I'm going to do that every time before I'm going to go get on a bunch of medications and stuff. That is not my style. Don't want to do that. And so far, that has proven to be effective. Anyway, it's a whole long thing. Needless to say, if that happens and you're dealing with dizziness and, things spinning, the room spinning around and stuff like that, it does not make your belly feel very good. Yeah. And so that can cause issues. So anyway, I'm here. I'm good. I feel 100% better. It took maybe from Friday, it took maybe 4 or 5 days before I felt like, oh, I'm perfectly fine again. So anyway, really weird. Anyhow. That's good. Vestibular therapy. I have heard of that. I'm not familiar with it, but I have heard of it. So anyway, there you go. If any of you are dealing with that and don't know what to do about it, you might check with somebody who is familiar with realigning the crystals in your ears. I'm not a doctor. I just play one for myself. Hello, Barbara Clark. Good to see you. Okay, so I titled this video Creative Chaos because that's what we're going to do. Part of me making the changes with the business and saying, I don't want to do the business anymore. And we're going to make a sweeping change, which Race and I still have to get all the details worked out. Part of it is I don't want to do it anymore. And gratefully with Elton, I don't have to do it anymore. And so there you go. So that happened to align with the fact that my energy of staying up late, getting up early, doing and working all day, and the whole thing, it all kind of came together in a nice little package. And so I'm very grateful for that. It's good. It's good to feel like I have a choice, and I do have a choice, and I'm really, really thankful for that. Anyway, so because of that, all that to say that if there's something I don't want to do, I'm not going to do it. As far as this part of my life goes, there are other parts. Most of my life, there's things you got to do because you got to do them. But in this arena, I'm going to do precisely what I want to do. And that may sound very selfish and or odd and or strange, but if this is not fun, if I'm not really enjoying what I'm doing, I'm not going to do it. And I'm tired of working on those little accordion books. We'll take a look at them just for old time's sake. But I'm tired of working on them. And so I set them to the side, and I'll come back to them some other time. There you go. Oh, thank you so much, Barbara. That's very sweet of you. Okay, so what I am enjoying so much is, and in case I didn't make it clear to everybody, what's going to happen with the business, with How to Get Creative. The website will remain. This is the plan, the overall plan, that the website will remain. We have eliminated memberships. They're done. If by any chance the website, memberships are done. We're just going to say that. We're going to be opening the website to the public where you can enjoy the classes that are there, that are recorded. You can sit there for a lot of hours and enjoy a lot of Barb. Help yourself if you want to do that. And you will see my hairstyle go from short to shorter to longer to short. From during COVID, you'll see my hair go from needing, it's like you need a little touch up to you need a touch up to if you don't do something about that hair, it just goes through that upheaval, the whole bit. You'll see me age right before you because I've been doing this since 2000. I think the classes started, I think I started recording classes in 2012. So there may be products that are no longer available that I use, that I talk about, that I show, but there's always substitutes. Anyway, so just hold on to your horses because we've got to get that done. And my goal to get it done is during this month of May. So there you go. COVID was real. COVID was real. COVID was crazy. That was craziness. There will still be 2 courses, full-length courses, that will be available on the website. Those are pay-for courses. I still have a lot of other things that I want to do with it, things I want to put out there. But I'm done being pressured. I'm done. So there you go. I'm going to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And having said that, next Friday I won't be here. After all that, I'm not streaming Monday nights anymore. I'm done with that. Next Friday I won't be here because we are going to see my granddaughter for Mother's Day. She and I like to spend Mother's Day together, and so I'm going to do that. And so there is that. I will be here in 2 weeks. So you guys are going to have to find other live streams or whatever and enjoy next Friday without me. One of the things I am loving doing is making this puzzle of a quilt. And I've shown you parts of it. I thought I would show you all the blocks I have done so far. This is a puzzle. This is how much I have done. This is not half the quilt yet. But this is hello, Dana. And anybody else I missed, welcome. I'm glad you are here. So I'm going to show you the progress of the quilt. It's still in pieces, so it's a little hard to imagine. However, I think you can imagine it. I'll explain it to you as we go. Okay, so this is the quilt. This is the designer of said quilt. Oh, Dorothy, I'm so sorry about that. Oh, good, Barbara, that's great. So she put in a link there for Kelly Bluen. I'm not sure that that's how you say her name. About Zentangling and her website. So this is the quilt that I'm doing. This is approximately the size that I'm doing. Where I am at this point is what this is 6 big blocks made of, each big block is made of 4 smaller blocks. So I have this one done, and I am to here on this one. So I have 2 more dinosaurs to do to make, and I will have half the quilt done. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get these 2 guys done before I go visit my granddaughter, but I'm going to really try, okay? All right, so this is, I'm just going to show these to you. I'm not going to try and explain to you where they are in the quilt. I'm just going to show them to you. So this is the Triceratops. There are 6 of each dinosaur, okay? Triceratops. There are different, in this block of this plant form, this is called a vine. There's ends up to be strips in between bordering each one of the blocks. And that's how you get the blocks to all be the same size. Anyway, I have 3 of the Triceratops done, and the only fabric I have kept consistent on these is the horns. The background of the quilt, I have chosen all different kinds of dark backgrounds. So they are unique. They are different backgrounds, and I did that on purpose because I want it to be interesting. This is for a little great-grandson who is not quite 2. I want it to be interesting for him to look at. And so I've done it in such a way that hopefully he will be able to see it and study it and take naps under it and drag it around with him for a very long time. So this is the Brachiosaurus block, and this plant form here is spelled C-Y-C-A-D. I'm assuming it's pronounced cycad, but I really don't know. Anyway, there's that one. So I'm just going to show them to you and stack them back up. Yes, it does make the colors pop. It does. This is Tyrannosaurus Rex. Okay. And this fabric, red, this is actually not a solid color, but you get very far away from it and it reads as a solid color. And so I decided to make polka dots using these things. They're called Apple-Pops, and you can make polka dots out of fabric. And so I did that and then hand stitched them on so that he would have some polka dots. This is called a fern, and this is that CYCAD plant form also. I made all the plant forms various shades of green. This one is, this is a Stegosaurus. It has one of those and one of those. So it has a fern and a cycad, we'll just call it. Kind of the overarching theme throughout the quilt is polka dots, or something that's kind of like polka dots. Here's another Stegosaurus. I've made all of the plant forms different colors and different shades of green, different patterns and stuff. Again, because I just want it to be interesting for him to look at. This is another Triceratops, and this is that vine plant that goes, that's just what fills out the Triceratops. I don't have the extra fabric sewn on it or anything, but I think he's cute. All of this fabric in here is from the same fabric. All of this. This is kind of the polka dot-ish element on this one. I am saying it? Oh, okay. I just never had heard of that. This is another Brachiosaurus. This is probably my least successful choice of fabric, although I love this fabric. This is a very famous designer whose name escapes me at the moment. Very famous quilt fabric designer. What's his name? One of you guys will know who he is, because you'll recognize the fabric. Anyway, it's very busy. It is very, very busy fabric. But, you know, it's okay. I'm going to have to do something to make his eye stand out. I may end up, K-Facette. Yep. Thank you, Barbara Clark. I knew one of you guys would know it. I may put a button in on the eyes, on the ones especially that it doesn't show up. But there's the polka dots, and this is a real polka dotty kind of fabric. So that's the other Brachiosaurus. This one is another Tyrannosaurus Rex. He has polka dot feet. He has polka dotty feet and an unusual polka dot fabric for his body. So that is that Tyrannosaurus. And this one is the one I just finished today. This is another Stegosaurus. I hope he enjoys it a lot. I really do. I think it'll be an interesting quilt for him. And then here is the last of the Triceratops for the top half of the quilt. And this is the other vine block that goes over on this end of him. So that's what I have done so far. And I'm really happy with it. And I'll show you what it looks like when it's laid out, because I took a picture of it this morning. So this is what it looks like when it's laid out on the floor. So you can kind of get the picture. So that it doesn't have the sashing strips and stuff in there yet, but anyway, it gives you the overall effect. So I have 2 more blocks that go in here, another Brachiosaurus and another Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then that completes the top half of the quilt, and from there on down it'll go into cool colors, blues, greens, blues, purples, that kind of thing. So anyway, I really like it. The colors don't reproduce very accurately on my phone, but I got to tell you, I'm enjoying this, and I didn't know whether I would or not, but I am. So there you go. I hope he has a lot of fun with it, and I hope that he enjoys counting polka dots and learning the names of these dinosaurs, unless they change them before he has a chance to learn them, which is possible. Okay, by means of review, in case you weren't here Monday night, we'll take a quick look at the little books in the little tins. And this, I don't know if this will be the last time that I show them to you. I don't know. We may come back and revisit them, because I haven't finished the tins at all. They're just Altoid tins, which are breath mints. And I end up with a ton of these little tins. And so I thought I really should do something with them. Anyway, so I just made little accordion style books that are in these little boxes. I have yet to decide if I'm going to how I'm going to finish the inside of the boxes. I just really don't know. Anyway, I have decided what the quote is that I'm going to put inside, but I haven't started lettering it. These were just blobs of watercolor and then finding the flowers. And the quote is, "Flowers always make people better, happier, and more helpful. And more helpful. They are sunshine," which I love. This is my favorite one of all of them. "And food and medicine to the mind." And that's by Luther Burbank. And then this one, so it just, you turn the page, turn the book, and it keeps going, right? From bud to bloom, a reminder that progress is a journey, not just a destination. Yeah. So that's going to be that little book. It's just a matter of, at this point, it just needs to be lettered. So I just need to take the time and letter the quotes on there, and then finish the box. But bye, Starla. Enjoy your patio garden. So this one is this one we did a little bit differently. It's recorded on the channel, so you can go back and see what we did. And on one side we did flowers, very, very colorful, super colorful flowers. On the other side, we just put down scraps. Just added a few scraps of collage elements, And then on Monday, what we did was go through and added faces and hands and expressions and feet, and they're all just crazy characters. And then at the very end, we ended up putting a little bit of ground under their feet. So there is what we have so far. And then these two over here I've just done in pencil. I haven't added the ink or anything like that. So, okay. So that is that. Again, I have not done the box. They are what they are, you know. They join the ranks of my unfinished projects. That's what happens, is my attention gets drawn elsewhere. Okay, so what we're going to do today, the thing about beautiful chaos, because I'm ready to go back to exploring some fabric things. If you're not interested in fabric, this is not going to be a good stream for you. If you are interested in fabric, well, hang tight. So what I have been doing as I've been working on this the dinosaur quilt, is I have been putting the scraps that were like too big to throw away, but not really big enough to get pieces out of. I've just been collecting them. I also have another scrap basket that has pieces in it that are big enough that I can actually cut you know, some other pieces for the quilt if I need it. Okay, but these are all those that are just kind of hit and miss little bits in that, of this and that. So this is, I thought what we would do on this is, I've done lots of collage fabric that I've stitched on stream, and then I've used it for different things. Some of it I have copied, scanned and copied and used, printed it out on paper and used it for greeting cards, or used it for journal pages or whatever. But I always have started with white or off-white as the base. And I thought, you know, I've never started with a black base, and so that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with black. So what I have here, this is black fabric. I don't think you're going to be able to see it. Let's try it this way. Okay, it is a black on black print. It's almost a marbly kind of looking cotton. And so what I have done is I've taken that. This is a piece of stabilizer. This is Ricky Tim's Stable Stuff. I've glue sticked, put a little glue stick on it, and put this piece of black cotton fabric on it. Okay? Hello, Shoo. Good to see you. And so we're going to use this piece of fabric as a background, and it is roughly 8 by 10. It's a little bit bigger than, it's 11. It's 8.5 by 11. I think that's what it is, actually. The stabilizer is 8.5 by 11. The fabric is a little bit bigger than that, but not much. Just so it, you know, there's enough fabric hanging around the edges. And so I have my scrap chaos right here. So these are all things from the quilt, leftovers from the quilt that I just showed you pieces of. So this is all the warm tones, and there's some ravelings from when I washed some of the fabrics too. So I couldn't bear to throw those away because they were too pretty. So that's for another project. We'll just stick those back in the basket. Anyway, so what we're going to do is this. I'm going to use a glue stick, like so, and I'm going to probably need a glue surface also. And I'm just going to put tiny bits of glue stick on the fabric. So this is going to be off to the side. This is just an old phone book that I used to glue in. And then we're going to start putting fabric in here. Hello, Joyce. Good to see you. And I'm going to get a baby wipe out so that I have something to pick up the glue, keep the glue kind of at a minimum with my fingers. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. And from there, we're just going to chit-chat because it has been a crazy week this week. I've been in customer service. How should we say it? How can we say it nicely? Customer service craziness. How about that? Well, that kind of, you'll get the idea. You'll know what I'm really saying. You know, places want your business, especially cell phone companies want your business. But boy, do they have a hard time when you want to make a change. You know what I mean? Oh. Yeah, so among other things, this week we're making a change in vehicles. That's another story. But one vehicle needed to have, it needed to be serviced because it's going to a new home. And the other vehicle needed to get new tires put on it. And so while we were waiting for the tires, we'd already accomplished the service work because we got up at the crack of dark 30, if you know what I mean, to go get the service work done. And while we were waiting for the tires to be put on the other vehicle, we went to the cell phone provider. Now, Elton's cell phone provider has been U.S. Cellular. And U.S. Cellular has, I think I'm correct in this, has been bought out by T-Mobile. I think that's right. All right, so it's real simple. I was a T-Mobile customer. I have been for a long time. When Clausman was still living, we were on T-Mobile because they had a deal, you know. You know, that's how they get you, because they have a deal. And it was a good deal. And then after he passed away, then Race, my amazing and wonderful son, put me on their plan, which was very kind of him. I don't really know why he did that, but he did, and so I'm like, who am I to argue with him? I wasn't in any frame of mind to argue with anybody back then. And I'm just looking at what I have here. We're just gonna use these scraps that I have. So I'm just digging through the pile of scraps as I'm yakking with you, putting a little bit of glue stick on the back of the scrap, not much, but a little bit, and then just slapping down the patches. And this black fabric, if some of it shows through, I'm okay with that because the black will just make the colors more vibrant. That's my process here. Anyway, So we go to, Elton has already spent, okay, so let me back up. So I was a T-Mobile customer first, and then Clausman passes away after his descent into dementia, after he fell and hit his head and all of that stuff that I think most of you know about. And so then Race was in town, and I needed to get a different phone because something was going on with my phone. And then he put me on their account. Okay, so that's the history. In the meantime, Elton has been on U.S. Cellular, which I also was a U.S. Cellular customer once upon a time, way back in the day. But that was a long time ago. And when U.S. Cellular got bought out by T-Mobile, then suddenly he was having problems staying connected when we were traveling. And we travel some little bit, as I'm sure you guys know. We go to, Elton has daughters on opposite sides of the state, and so we visit them from time to time, and it's a whole thing, right? You just do what you do. But his phone, he kept getting messages that said things like, "You're not connected to any cellular network," and no, and he would have, I mean, it's crazy. So he goes in before the other day, he goes in and spends time with them at the U.S. Cellular place, and they supposedly kind of get him straightened out, except we still kind of had the same problem for who knows what reason. So we end up then, while one car is getting new tires put on it, we go to the U.S. Cellular place together. Now, I don't know if you guys have been into a cell phone. I don't even know how to say this nicely. But let's say, if you have, and Elton also went through a whole deal on the phone with them one day when he was real upset. He was very upset, and justifiably so. He was upset. Because he couldn't connect to any phone tower while he was driving to meet his daughter, and he ends up driving. They were going to meet halfway between Kansas City and where we live, in the middle of the state. They were going to connect halfway, except his phone wouldn't connect to a network, so he couldn't talk to her. And so he ends up driving to her house, which would have been fine, except they pass each other on the highway, and she's more than halfway here, and he's at her house, and nobody can talk to anybody because he's not connected to any network because of the changes that have been made. And so, anyway, it's a whole long, ridiculous story, right? That's the background. So, he's frustrated. And so, we've decided that this is the day to go deal with cell phones while the car, because you can't do anything else but wait. So we're waiting. We're waiting for tires to get put on the car. Okay? This is not a special glue stick. This is just a regular paper glue stick. Yeah, just a regular one. Nothing special. And the fabrics that I'm using are all scraps left from the quilt that I'm making for my great-grandson. Okay, so we go in, and it's a multi-step, it's a multi-prong attack on this deal. I'm just going to put this one right here. It's a multi-prong, multi-step thing because now we have to get my phone off of my son's account. We have to get Elton's phone switched over for whatever reason, I don't know, because the same company owns, it's not his problem that US Cellular and T-Mobile have merged or whatever they've done. But they have to do all these little magic shenanigans, And so that means that we just have to wait and see what happens. And so they have to put in a new card and they have to do all this stuff and they finally get it switched over and yes, they will talk to me, he's given them permission because it doesn't make any difference if you're married to somebody. You have to have permission for someone to talk to you about their account. Don't get me started. I have gone down this road. I've gone down this road more times than I care to elaborate about. But anyway, so we get him all taken care of. And so now it is my turn. Now it's my turn that we got to get me squared away so that I can be on his account, because we're going to get me off my son's account and get me onto Elton's account. Okay? All right. I know that there's lots of little triangles going on here, but that is just the shape of how these fabrics are coming to be on this quilt. All right, so it's now my turn. And so the guy at US Cellular, nice young man, no problems, no complaints about him. He was very nice. He was doing absolutely his best to deal with this situation. And he can't, for whatever reason, they can't get it all figured out in the store. And so they call their customer service number. Okay? The store does. Store guy does. Okay. And so she explains that we have to get my son, who is in a totally different time zone, we have to get him on the line with a customer support person, with me, with the store. And so we find out all the ways that this is going to be accomplished. Okay? Can you imagine? Can you already imagine the nightmare that this is growing to be? Oh, anyway. So I'm trying to get a hold of my son. It's 2 hours earlier where he is. So, of course, he's not... remember the crack of dark 30? Back it up 2 hours from there. We're trying to communicate with him. Oh, my goodness. Oh, and then in this whole thing, they've given... for whatever reason, they've given Elton a temporary, he has to have a temporary phone number, okay? Temporary phone number for some unknown reason. And then once it's temporary, then they put in his regular phone number that he's going to keep. But it could take a little while for that to get processed. Ugh. Anyway. To make a very long and stupidly boring story at least a little shorter, we finally get a hold of Race, and I say to him, if you have time, could you help me out? Because I'm trying to get off your account. And I'm trying to get this sorted out so that I'm not going to be the mother who is sucking off of her son any longer, which I didn't mean to be in the first place, but that's just what happened. And he said, sure. So he manages then to get the three-way connection hooked up between Timbuktu and me, and they give us numbers that we're supposed to use, a transfer number and some other kind of number and account numbers. In the meantime, Race has had to put an app on his phone because that's how they do it now. We don't, heaven forbid, we should talk to real people. I don't even know how we got a hold of this person to talk to in the flesh, but we did. And so get off the phone, and they had said, we've removed your mother from your account, and this is all she'll need to do now is have this information. She needs to call or check with so-and-so tomorrow and make sure that this has been accomplished properly, and you should be good to go. Okay, you ready for this? They couldn't do any more in the store because the guy that we were dealing with was very frustrated about the whole thing, understandably so, and he was doing the best he could. He really was. Gets done. He's frustrated. I said, you know what? I will take care of this tomorrow, because there's no point in having this guy be more frustrated than he already is. I said, I'll deal with this tomorrow. I'll call the customer support. As I shudder as I'm saying those words to you, I'm shuddering in my shoes, because I know I'm gonna just be back in this craziness again. And I said, I'll take care of it tomorrow, because I needed to let this. I honestly, I was tired of being there, but I needed to let this young man off the hook. He was tired of dealing with two old people. That's really what happened. Oh my goodness, Barb. It was funny. It really was. So I just had to take a break from it. Sometimes that's what you got to do. You just got to have a break. You got to give yourself a break and go, we've been here for 2.5 hours. I mean, they've got the tires on the car, and we're ready to. Elton needed to go to work. He had an appointment. Oh my Lord, help me. And so this is actually looking pretty. I like this. Do you like this? I like this. I'm going to just sort of get some of my extra pieces here just so I can kind of see what I have left to kind of put on this collage. I'm just sorting here a little bit. There's some polka dots. I want to use those polka dots. There's another polka dots. Okay. And I think I'm going to put a little bit of the greens in here if I can find a few greens. Anyway, just hang with me here a minute. I'm sorting just a little bit. Now, okay, to make the long story is going to be the long story, that's all. I ended up then the following day, so this was Wednesday, I went I had a couple of appointments on Wednesday, and then I went someplace to sit down and have coffee and write in my journal for a little bit. And then I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to check and make sure that the cell phone thing had been transferred the way that they assured me that it probably had been. Probably had been. Okay, so I can't talk to a person. I have to do it with the chat bot who assures me, the AI chat bot who assures me that it can help me. Okay, they just need to know a little bit about my issue, but it can help me. And then it said, or if you prefer, you can chat with a live person. I chose that. I chose a live person. So I get the live person on the supposedly live person on the phone, on the chat, one of those chat features. And I have all the numbers. I have my son's account number. I have Elton's account number. I have the PIN numbers. I have all, not some, I have all the information. I have the transfer number. I have everything I'm going to need, because that's what these people have told me. And so the person, the real person, wink, wink, nod, nod, says, well, you don't need a transfer number. There's no reason that you should need that. And I said, well, that's what and this is all be typing on my phone, And so, so then the guy, Sean, the robot person, whoever that I'm dealing with, his name is Sean. So I'm talking to Sean. And Sean says, well, here's what you have to do. He said, you don't need that number. That I don't know why anyone would give you that number, but you don't need that number, the transfer number. And all you need to do is, are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? Okay. My son's in California. My husband is at his north office, which is 35, 40 miles away from here. And all I needed to do was to get all of those people and a customer support person on a call at the same time. It would be very simple and wouldn't take much time. Okay? I'm supposed to make this miracle happen to get my son, who is 2 hours earlier and heaven knows what he's doing, get him to take his time to deal with something that in his opinion really didn't, it wasn't screwed up to begin with, and his mother is screwing it up. And I'm like, and this is all being told to me via text on my phone, the AI, whatever, chat bot named Sean. And I said, that's not possible. We spent 2.5 hours yesterday at the U.S. Cellular store in person. I had my husband and my son and the customer service person on the phone all at the same time. And nobody said that we had to do this again. I said it was a miracle that I got them all together the first time. And he says, I'm really sorry, but that's how we have to do it. And I said, I'm really sorry that I ever heard of U.S. Cellular or T-Mobile, And so I'm going to hang up now, and because I need to do that before I say some rude words before I type bad words to you. Goodbye. And he says, "Oh, wait, wait, wait." Wait, wait, wait. Oh my goodness, you guys, it was the most insane. It was the most insane experience. I was on the phone, the I was on the phone, okay, air quotes, with Sean for another hour as he's going, "Let me see if I can get someone from my team to help us. Could you wait just a few more minutes? I promise it won't take too long." An hour later, and finally getting a conversation, I did have to involve both my son and my husband. I had to involve them both. But I did not have to work the miracle of 3 or 4-way conversations, so that was helpful. Anyway, at one point, the thing that could not be accomplished was accomplished, and Sean and his team somehow managed to get my number released from my son's account, and then they finally managed the miracle of getting my number attached, transferred, whatever the name, the proper word is, terminology, got it transferred to Elton. And then he said, this is my favorite question from any customer service thing ever. When they finally get this miracle accomplished, which should have been accomplished the day before in the store. But anyway, that I digress. And then they say, and it's typing. "Is there anything else we could do to help you?" Is there anything else we could do for you? I'm like, I'm not going to answer that question because right now I don't think it's a prudent question to ask me. Oh, good night, nurse. I'm telling you, it was insane. Anyway, I think with any luck at all, nobody's going to be double charged for. I caused so much trouble, and I didn't mean to. I did not mean to cause all this. I didn't mean to cause all this chaos in the lives of the men that I love very much. I didn't intend to do that, but it's sort of what happened. Oh, my Lord in heaven. Yeah. Yes. Okay, let's fill in. I like this color combination, I gotta say. And I'm acting like the placement of the colors really matters. It really doesn't. It really doesn't matter where I put these pieces of fabric because we're going to stitch on top of it here in a moment with thread that could cause some real problems. I don't know. But you know what? We're going to give it a shot. And let's see. Anyway, so they finally got it, I guess, hopefully taken care of. And then this customer service person and or robot, we don't know, Sean, very much wanted me not to report him as not being able to solve my problem. He wanted desperately wanted me to be happy, and I assured him that I was happy, that the story had a happy ending, and yada yada yada. Okay, so hopefully that's accomplished. The next thing that happens, okay, do you remember me saying a little bit ago that you might not remember after all that nonsense, that there was a different car involved. Well, Elton and I bought me a different car. He paid for part of it. He paid half of it. I paid half of it because that's what I wanted to do. And I very much appreciate having this car. I'm really enjoying it. I haven't driven it a lot yet, but I'm really enjoying it. All right, I gotta find something else to put down here. I don't mind having little black cracks of background, but I don't want it to have too much, right? Not little cracks of black here and there is fine. Anyway, so got the car, and this is a car, as they are now, that, you know, we went through the period of time where you had the keys to a car, and if you needed another key or you wanted to have a you know, you needed a spare key, in other words, you took your key in and they just cut you a new key, right? Okay, so we've gone from that to, then you had the fancy key, the great big key that had the big black thing, but it was still a key. So they've gone to those now. Okay, so that's what my key from my previous car, that's what it had. It had one of those. But now you don't even have to have a key, but you have to have a key fob, right? Key fob. Anybody hear me on the key fob? Yes, Terry, that's exactly what they said. Please take the survey. I decided not to take the survey. I don't think it would have been a good idea. Do you really think it would have been a good idea if I took a survey? No. Anyway, and the guy at the store, you know, he was a nice young man. It wasn't his fault. I don't really know whose fault it was, but I really and truly don't think it was his fault. Anyway, glue in my hands. So now you have this key fob, okay? It's a key fob. You just have to have it with you. You don't use it in the car. You push a button. You don't have to have a key, but you do have to have the key fob on you. Now, if the battery goes down in your key fob, you have to have the emergency key, okay? The emergency key is a part of the key fob, but it doesn't look like a key, but it's a part of it. And so this is all in case your battery goes down in your key fob. It allows you to be able to get into the car or something. Supposedly you're able to start the car also with the key fob, even with the battery when it's too low, you know. Don't ask me. I don't know. That all is great. It's all good and well, unless your key fob drops off the emergency key. Mm-hmm. Can you tell what happened to me? Can you tell? Do you have a thought about where this story is going to go? The new car has less than 300 miles on it. And the key fob fell off of it once. And I didn't think anything about it. It was in my purse. I pick it up. I put the two things back together. Everything's good to go, right? I tell you, people are just so fancy with their technology stuff now. It's just so fancy. It's too fancy for me. too fancy for this little old grandma person. Fell off of my purse. And so I put it back together. Everything's good. Everything was good until this past Tuesday. This past Tuesday, we had horrible weather coming in. Again, we had bad weather coming in on Monday, and then we had bad weather coming in on Tuesday. And so I decide on Tuesday, because I mean, they were showing hail that was the size of golf ball to baseball size hail coming up from Springfield, Missouri, which is it's a ways from here, but that's kind of how the weather pattern goes around here. And so I decide Tuesday afternoon, I don't want my car that we just got. I don't want it. Okay. I don't want it to get to beat all to pieces by this hail. So I decide to get my butt in gear out in the garage, which I couldn't get into here yet. And I decide to get my rear in gear and go make enough room in the garage that I can put the car in the garage. Well, I had the space ready, and I go out to get the car to move it into the space that I proudly made in the garage. But I only have the emergency key on my key ring because the key fob is no longer there. And I'm thinking, no worries. The car only has less than 300 miles. You know what? That key fob is in my purse, or it's in the car, because I haven't been anywhere else. And so I proceed. Well, we had the second key, because you have key 1 and key 2, fob 1 and fob 2. We had fob 2. And so I just assumed that the fob 1 is in, it's in my purse. So I go ahead and get fob 2 and I put the car in the garage. Everything's good. And so then I go on the hunt for fob number 1, which is dropped off of the emergency key that I'm sure is inside my purse. Do you know how many times you can look in the same place for something, thinking this time it will be back when I look there? When I look there this time, it's going to be back. I know it. And then you look in the space and it's not there. And so then you clean out your purse one more time. I cleaned out every nook. I ran my hand down inside the pockets. I can't tell you how many times I put my hand down in that pocket where I always have my keys. And what else? I retraced my steps. I moved the car back out of the garage with fob 2. I put it back outside so I can fully open the doors and I can get the flashlight and I can look all the way around, and then I look all the way everywhere. I look everywhere. And then I go get in the other car because I still have the other car. The one that, my other car hadn't gone away yet. And so I get into that because I think, well, it's got to be in there. So I get and I look all the way under. And of course, there's no way you don't have a thing that the emergency key will spot where the fob is, right? Looking. All right, let's look at this. What do you think? Do we think this looks okay? I think it's okay. And I think I'm good with what black cracks I have showing. I think I'm going to like this with this little extra black crackness showing. I might put one of these little, I might put one little more green here. Now that I did that one, I need to put that one a couple more times. So let me do that, and then we'll get on with this ordeal. Oh my goodness, you guys. Well, the hailstorm went around us, so that was good. We didn't get any weather other than threatening skies. All right, I think that's good enough. But I have searched until I'm out of ideas. I have looked everywhere I can look. I mean, I've gone through trash and trash cans in case I accidentally, I still have scraps left. I went through trash cans. I went through everything. I went through everything. Everything, everywhere that I could think of. And then I finally get a hold of Elton and I say, could you give me the phone number of the salesperson where we got the car so that I can it was a woman, so I could contact her and see how much this is going to cost me. I know it's going to be a lot because it's not like going to the hardware store. It's definitely not like going to the hardware store and having them cut a key. That much I know about. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. But before I do all that, I get online. All right, this is black tulle that I'm using here. And black tulle is like the stuff that you make tutus out of. And it is a frustrating fabric to work with, but it is my favorite way to do this, and so I put up with the frustration. And this is black tulle. It is my color of preference when I'm doing this. I have used all different colors of tulle to do these projects, and black is always the one I come back to because I like the black. All right, so I'm going to take that from the bottom and I'm going to put it on the top, and this is going to sandwich all these little bits of stuff and hold them together until I get the thread, the machine work on here, machine stitching. You can do this by hand also, but it's harder. Okay, I gotta get some pins in here because the thing that with tulle is it's like sewing on water, and it is just crazy, maddening. So you need to get the tulle on the base and hold it together with something. I'm just going to put some pins around the outside edge, and what that's going to do is hold the tulle in place, and once I get enough stitching on it to hold it, I will make sure these pins come out, because invariably what happens is you end up stabbing yourself with a pin. That's just part and parcel of working with these things. Okay? Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I'm glad you like it. I like it. And this is all scraps left over from the quilt. So that's cool, huh? I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I'm making this just because I'm making it. Just to be doing it. Just because I felt like making something out of some kind of chaos. Because the week has been a little chaotic. So, you know, sometimes you just got to Keep going. Okay, so what I need to do now is get my sewing machine, which is right here beside me, and I will show you, because we haven't had enough frustration throughout the week, we're going to have a little bit more, okay? All right. But at the same time, when you take a look at this, you're going to ooh and ah with me the same way that I ooh and ah every time I open this box. Okay? Look at this box of goodness. Okay? Just take a look at this. I'm going to zoom in so you can see. See how wonderful this box of goodness? These are called shimmer threads, and they are by the company Sulky. They're extraordinarily frustrating to work with, but we're going to give it a shot. And we're going to, I know, did you say ooh? Hi, Kathy. Ruth Edwards, hello. So we're gonna play with this, and we'll see how it works. If it doesn't work, we'll wish it had. This is a flat thread. It's a mylar thread. It's flat. It's frustrating, but there's nothing else on the market like it. It's not like metallic thread. It is gorgeous stuff to work with when it works. And so now what I have to do is to decide what color of this shimmer thread do I wish to use on this collage piece. So choices that we have kind of a bronze color. We have a really good green color, and nothing says I can only use one color. Okay, I can use more than one color. I don't think that the variegated ones are going to work very well for this. So I'm just sort of going, I don't want to use gold. I don't want to use the white gold. This one might be nice. I don't know. This one is nice. It's similar to this. There's like bronze and copper. I think those are going to be our choices, and I think I'm going to use maybe what color do you think? I don't know. I'm kind of thinking we're going with that one. That's what we're going to use. Now, everybody here needs to start crossing your fingers and your toes right now that this works, okay? Because shimmer thread, as I just told you, is enough to make you say really, really, really bad words. And I'm going to try real hard not to do that, okay? All right, let me get my sewing machine. Okay. Oh, I know another thing I wanted to talk to you about also before I thread up the shimmer thread. I want to show you. This is just a little sewing thing that I've used a lot. Whoops. Always thread the machine with the presser foot up. I almost did a real bad thing and threaded it with the presser foot down. In case you don't know why you have to do that, it is because that is how the thread goes into the tension discs of the sewing machine. And if you don't thread it with the presser foot up, the thread sits on top of the thread, the tension dials or tension discs, does not drop into the place. It's like this. The tension discs are like this. If the presser foot is up, those if the presser foot is down, those discs are closed and the thread sits on the top. You have to have the foot up so they open and the thread drops into the tension discs properly, and then it will tension the thread correctly. So that's why I always say you gotta thread it with your foot up. Okay, so let's talk about this. This has nothing to do with what I'm doing here. It has nothing to do with US Cellular or T-Mobile or my car key. Okay, this is just for the purpose of informational purpose only. Okay, so let's get my machine set up here just a little bit more. Okay. All right, and let me put my extension table on. And we are going to talk about these little helper wads of fabric, folded up fabric. Okay, so let me show you this. So here's my machine set up for straight stitching. Okay, this is a piece of muslin, just plain old muslin, could be anything, folded in half. And I've been stitching, it's a starter cloth. I have two of them, one for starting and one for finishing. When you're putting things, when you're piecing things or stitching a lot of short seams, it helps a lot if you start with one of these little starter things under your fabric or under your presser foot, like that. Let's say this is a two pieces of fabric I'm sewing together for this quilt, piecing together for this quilt. Okay, so I'm gonna use that, and I'm just gonna keep on sewing all the way across here like this. And before I finish up, I'm gonna put another one under here, and I'm gonna stitch off on that and leave that starter, finisher, patch, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to leave that under the presser foot. Then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to cut this off like this. Okay, and normally you just go from one piece to the next and you don't have any tails of thread. You only have the tail of thread if you started it. So what this does, this particular thing does two things. One is it stops you from having a wad of thread on the back of your work, because if there was going to be a wad of thread, it would have been on this thing. So you're going to get a nice even start and stop to your seam. Okay, so it's nice and even. The stitching is beautiful. But the biggest thing that it does, people will tell you, and this, I don't get the argument or explanation about this, but they'll tell you that the reason you use these little starter and stopper things is that it saves so much on thread. That makes no sense to me. It may make sense to some other people, but it makes no sense to me. What it does save you is a lot of time. The reason I say I don't think it saves you that much on thread, do you see how much thread there is on this little piece of, so that doesn't make sense to me. It may be logical to some people, it is not to me. However, when you are sewing like this, okay, and you go on to your piece of fabric and you stitch off onto another piece of fabric, and it doesn't make any difference. It does need to be a doubled piece of fabric as opposed to a single piece of fabric. Yes. What it does save you in is time, because you come over here, one snip, that thing is gone. You snipped it from the other end. You have no tails that you have to come back and clean up. So I just thought I would share that with you. That is my opinion of why you use these starters and stoppers. That's why I use them. Otherwise, you're going to have all these little thread tails on hanging off all your patchwork or whatever it is you're making. And then you got to go back and cut off the beginning tails and that kind of stuff. Anyway, there you go. That for what that goes in the category of for what it's worth, okay? That's all there is. It's for what it's worth. Okay, let's go back to this crazy thread. In the bobbin of this machine, I have a very lightweight thread. It's this. It is a 70 or 50 weight thread. So it's a lightweight all-purpose sewing thread. Happens to be from the company Aurifil. That's in the bottom. We purposely, when you're doing this kind of stuff, you have to unbalance the thread. So that means I'm going to have the best thread on my top, which is my sliver thread. I'm just trying to get some fuzz off the machine here. And by the way, this needle I have been using here has been used quite a bit, so I'm going to get rid of it. So this is how I store used needles. This is an old film canister that I've punched a hole in, and I put the used needles and bent pins and stuff in there. When this gets totally full to where I cannot get another needle in here, then I tape over this. I wrap the tape around here, and then I throw this away in the trash. Or these are not as easy to come by as they used to be. They may get that way again. See, it's filling up with needles and pins and stuff. The other thing I can do is to take a piece of cardboard, like corrugated cardboard, a piece that I'm going to fold in half. I can put tape around it so that I only have one little edge that's open. Everything else is taped shut. I can take all of these out, drop those in between the two pieces of cardboard, tape the other end, close the remaining end, and then throw that away and keep this for adding needles into. Okay, those are just little, for what it's worth. All right, I'm going to change needles here. This needle is a top stitch needle. It has a big eye because you want to give this sliver thread, which is flat, as I said, you want to give it enough space for the thread to maneuver. All right, I got to get the spool open. Let's see, maybe it's this end. Yeah. The thread wants to spool off of the spool, and so the way these spools are made, one end will pull out like this. The disadvantage to this is this will also break off. So until it does break off, that will collapse down on the end of your thread. You put it in here and you can collapse that down, and it will keep the thread from spooling off and making a huge mess in your sewing box, the thread box. Okay, so I am threading this up, and you see it's very shiny, but it is flat. It's a flat thread. I'm using a top stitch needle because it is a much bigger eye. All right, all I got to do now is thread the thread. through the needle, which may take me a second. There are different ways to try to get this thread to work. One is to use a separate spool pin, which I did not bring in here with me. So we're going to try to make it work just with it just being up on the top of the machine like you would put any thread. I'm going to loosen my thread tension. Hopefully. We'll see how this works, okay? We'll see how it works. And then I'm going to use this regular presser foot first and see if this is going to work for us. Okay, here it goes. Let's try it, okay? Hello, Sandy. Good to see you. So I have loosened up the tension on my machine. I'm just going to use a straight stitch, and I'm going to use a longer than normal stitch length. And then let's see if it's going to work. If not, I have my trusty King Tut thread here, and we'll use it instead. Okay, here we go. You cannot go very fast with this thread. And I'm getting over here closer to the edge of the collaged piece, because I really just want to get the pins out of here as fast as possible. So I'm going to stitch around the edge. Once I get around the edge totally, then I will take this out and show you what it looks like. And we will examine the stitching and see what we think. Okay? Everybody good so far? And all of this is made of scraps, and so if this doesn't work, I don't care. Because I haven't finished telling you the story of the key fob yet, so. We'll continue that in a moment after I at least get around this one time. But you can't go real fast. If you try to go real fast, the machine and the thread have a fight, and they get you caught in their crosshairs, and they take it out on you. And it's never good, because you're going to lose every time. If the machine and the thread gang up on you, you're going to lose. I'm just telling you. But I thought what it would be fun to do is, I thought it would be fun for me to show you a thread that I don't know that I've ever shown you before. And since I did not start on one of those little thread starter cloths, or thread bunnies, they're sometimes called, I had to stop and cut my thread tails off. Alright, I'm just going to come around here and get to the place right here. And now we're going to just stop. I'm going to take it out. Yep, and the thread is so fragile that it sometimes likes to break all by itself, which is what it did when I started to pull it out. So I need to thread this up again. Sometimes it just is, it's just a very finicky thread, but it's so beautiful that, you know, it's so beautiful that most of the time it's worth trying. Okay, let me thread the needle again. It's like threading the needle with a hair. It's just about that consistency. Okay. So let's take a look at this. Do you see how it sparkles and shines? That's what I mean about there is no other thread out there that does this. Absolutely nothing. I think we might have to try to use that green thread too. All right, all I've done is gone around the edge. I have a regular cotton thread on the bottom. Okay. And so what you should see, if anything, you may see a little bit of the sliver thread coming through. And sometimes it will break on you, and then for unknown, with no explanation whatsoever, it will catch again and it will keep going. I don't have explanations for it, but it's beautiful. Okay. Cats are awful. All right, let us do a few more lines of stitching here. I don't know. We'll just see if it's going to work, okay? Let's just see if it works. I'm going to back stitch just a stitch. And then I'm not going to go very fast. You can do this also with free motion, but it likes to break even more with free motion. And some days it works so beautifully, and some days it does not. So I have asked you to please cross your fingers and your toes as we stitch with it. There is a thread lubricant that you can put on the spool of thread. I have never been a huge fan of that, but that is something that some people seem to like to use. I forgot what it's called, but it's actually a liquid lubricant that you actually put on the spool of thread. So what I'm doing is just doing vertical lines at the moment. I don't care if these lines are straight. I'm just trying to catch all the little scraps and ends. And by having the tool over all the scraps, it keeps them from flipping up and making a big mess and getting tangled and stuff. The tool helps a lot. You can hand stitch this, but it is, oh, with this thread, are you asking can you hand stitch with this thread, or give me more information about the question, Barb? Because I started to answer you and I thought I may not know what the question is fully. I would not try to, let me just say it this way, I would not try to hand stitch with this thread. If you want to hand stitch on this piece, you can do that, But you're going to need to, because it's fairly thick, you're going to need to use a needle like a chenille needle, something that's very sharp and that will pierce the fabric and make a hole big enough for whatever thread you're going to stitch with. I hope that makes sense. It's going to tax your hands. If you have any issues with your hands, it will tax your muscles in your hands. But that's not to say that it won't be worth doing. And I would do a running stitch. A fairly big running stitch is what I would use if I were going to do it by hand. Okay, so I'll finish telling you the key fob story because you see what I'm doing. I'm just going back and forth and back and forth. So anyway, weather is supposed to be coming in, and I have discovered the key fob is gone, and I have upended my purse. I've gone through every car, every pocket, everything I can possibly think of to find this, what I'm sure is going to be a very expensive mistake. And then I look online. Because I thought, well, I wonder if there's any way that, because all this high-tech computer stuff, I wonder if there's a way that the fob and the key, the emergency key, talk to each other. So, like, I can't be the only person this has ever happened to. And then I find out, as I'm looking online, that this has been a known problem for the last 3 years. And so I'm like, okay. So in the meantime, I get a hold of the car salesman and I explain my sorry plot, you know, that I don't know what happened, I don't know where it went, I've looked everywhere, retraced my steps, yada yada yada. And she says, well, that's why we have that's one thing that we have is a 6-month warranty on a car that for a lost key. I say to myself. She said, and you'll be the first person for us to test this with. Okay. Okay. So she said, I'm off tomorrow, but I will get back to you when I'm back in the dealership. Okay, did you break? Yes, thread broke. Yeah, okay, that is one of the things that this thread is notorious for. And you see this? Let me show you. See this? Right here? Yep, this is the kind of stuff that happens with the sliver thread. It will suddenly make a big mess, and then you just have to stop and be a little bit patient, rethread the machine, because if you really want to use it, which I do, I really want to use it here, you have to be patient as you do it. So you can see that it's stitching. This is the back side, but it's stitching quite nicely. And here's the front side, and it's stitching quite nicely, except it just said, no, too much stress, and no, we're done. And so you're going to have to stop and rethread. So that's what we're going to do. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to rethread this thread. Turning this spool a different direction and see if that makes a difference. Okay, so rethread. You really do have to be in the absolute right frame of mind to use this thread, because it can just make you say horrible things. But I love to look at the box of thread. I think it's so beautiful. And I have sewn with it, believe it or not. I have sewn with this thread a lot. But like I said, it's also like trying to thread your sewing machine with a hair. Trying to thread the needle. Trying to see the end of the thread. There we go. And the eye of the needle. Okay, let's try again, shall we? You have to be extraordinarily patient with this. All right, I'm going to back up and retrace my steps just a wee bit. Okay, then I'm going to, before I go any further, find the end of the thread so that I don't wad it up. I need to cut the bobbin thread in a minute. Nope, and it just broke again. Yep. Okay, let's switch colors, shall we? Sometimes a different color makes a difference. Let's try the green. Where did the green spool go here? I could have sworn I got the green spool out. You can't lose a spool of shiny green thread, can you? Yes, you can. You can leave it in the box. That's what you can do. All right, let's try another spool, another color, and see if that makes any difference. Sometimes it does. All right, and if it doesn't work this time, I'm just cutting threads off the back of the work. If it doesn't work this time, then we'll say we'll go to King Tut and we'll use it instead, which is my old standby. I just thought it would be kind of fun to see if we can make it work. When you finally get the combination of thread, tension, stitch length, all those things, you get the combination just right, then you want to stitch as much as you want to stitch, because who knows if you're going to ever get the combination again. And you can do the same thing tomorrow that you did today. Use the same setup on your machine tomorrow that you had today, and it might stitch beautifully, or it might just completely rebel and say, no thank you, not working today. Okay, let's try again. Let's see if we can make it work again. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go where I left off right here. I'm going to switch colors and just see if that will make any difference. And you can also have a needle that might have a little burr on the end of it, and that causes problems. Or the eye develops a burr. It just, I'm telling you, it's just what it is. Yes, I can tell that it wants to break. Anyway. Okay, so back to the key fob story while we'll let this do its thing here. And so yesterday I go into the car dealership, and again, I have continued to look all over everywhere, hoping that by some miracle the key fob will reappear. It doesn't. And so I go in, and then they say, is it fob number 1 or fob number 2? I said, it's fob number 1. And they say, oh, well, we have lots of fob number 2s, but we're going to have to look and see if we have fob number 1. Like, okay. Fortunately, I brought I brought my journal, I brought some pencils, I brought some pens. I was just going to sit down. I thought if it takes all day long, I don't care, you know. Doesn't matter. Anyway, about 30 minutes later, they found another key fob, number 1, and they have reprogrammed it or programmed it or whatever the process is, and I'm ready to leave, and all is good. My car is working, and now I have an extra emergency key that is of no value whatsoever, but if the key fob happens to show up, the one that's lost, if it happens to be in something and I find it, I have an extra. And I said, have you ever had this happen before? And they said, oh yes, we have all kinds of key fobs back here that people have lost. You know, they've left them, or and I'm like, this, okay. You know what I'm ready to do? Go back to the days of the keys where you go in the hardware store and have them cut you a key. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm ready for. Anyway. Okay, so far this color thread is working. It could be the spool, it could be the color. Who knows what it is? So far it's working. You can also do pattern stitches, like decorative stitches with this thread, but you want to use one that's very open. You don't want to use anything that is like a satin stitch type of stitch for this. Believe me, you will hate yourself if you do that. I'm going to turn around and go back the other way because I need to get this little section here. And then we will have we'll have stitched the surface of this entire piece, and then I'll decide if we're going to do any more. But we're going to just decide here for a minute. What do we think? I think let's try doing some diagonal stitching. Not too fast, Barb, not too fast. Because I am prone to doing circles or straight grids. On here, I just want to do maybe some diagonal lines. So those of you who are not just too bored out of your skull with this, if you want to hang on just a few more minutes, then you'll get to see what this looks like. So anyway, the moral of the story is I have now, again, 2 key fobs and 1 emergency key that's worthless. I think that as of now, my cell phone service, I think, is in order, and I don't think I'm going to have to go back to customer support or a store any longer. Such is life in the high-tech world, you know? You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? Mostly on this, I just want to get enough stitching that it's going to totally secure all of the patches down. And it will just take a whole bunch of trash, little scraps of fabric that are too small for anything, and hopefully make it usable for something else. I don't know what for. I'm just doing it because I want to. If you have any questions, I promise I'll look at the chat. If you just hang on to your questions here for a minute. I find that starting this sliver thread is the hardest. It's one of the hardest parts of using it. So once it's working, it's like don't change anything and stitch until you're done. So I'm not going to stop the stitching at the moment. I'm going to come, because I've done half of it with the diagonals. I'm going to come back over here to where my diagonal was, which is right here. You'll see it in just a second. I started it in the corner, kind of in the corner right here. So I'm going to come a little bit past that. And I'm going to then, I'm going to come down here just a little bit. And then I'm going to stitch, hopefully, if it cooperates with me, I'm going to do the diagonals on the other. I've got this part done from this line up. I've got it from here up. Now I'm going to go from here down. But I'm going to come in close so you can see what I'm doing. Sorry, I've talked so much and blathered on long enough that I'm going to have to stop and get a drink of my smart water. Because you know, nobody wants to drink out of dumb water bottles, only smart ones. Okay. I don't know what makes it smart. I have to say though, as frustrating as this thread can be, it is so beautiful. That it's worth it. To me, it's worth it. I much prefer to do this kind of stitching free motion, because then you can go in any direction you want, but that is just sometimes just asking way too much of this thread. And on top of that, this sliver thread I have owned for years. So, you know, sometimes that really makes a difference with thread also, is how old it is. Every once in a while, I will listen to people, especially like on YouTube or Instagram, talk about, they're very proud that they're still sewing with their mother's or their grandmother's thread. And it's like, you know, I'm not sure that's a great idea, but, you know, sentimentally it's wonderful. But thread can dry out and it actually gets rotten. So... and this thread being 100% synthetic, there is no natural fiber in this thread whatsoever. This is a, this is like little slivers, which is why it's called sliver. It's little slivers of mylar. And so, it's not even real thread. Okay, we're almost done. A couple more lines of stitching and we're going to call it completely done here. And with any luck at all, we're going to have made it with minimal thread breakage. And just so you know, my normal thread tension on this machine is 4.5, and I am currently at 2.5. So that means I have taken the tension off of this thread by it. I'm using like half of the normal tension that I would use for a regular sewing thread. Okay, we made it. Okay, let's pull it out and let's take a look at it. Okay, I'm going to switch to the other camera because I think you might be able to see it better. Okay, so we'll look at it from both cameras. Can you see the high shine? That's because the thread is flat, and that's why it catches the light like it does. Okay, so first of all, I'm just going to show you the thread. All right, and then let's look at it from over here, where you can see, sometimes you can see the color a little bit better on this camera. See all that lovely shine? It's pretty cool, and it's sewed pretty well. And there's the back side of the, so you can see the design. This is where the first thread was giving me trouble, but the rest of it, I mean, it's stitched okay. There you go. So we have put a whole bunch of threads and scraps together And then from this side, I'm just going to cut off the excess tulle, because tulle, you know what a microfiber cloth feels like, right? It's got that kind of, I don't know, it's that kind of feeling that kind of makes your hands go, ugh. Well, that's kind of what tulle does. It sticks to your hands, and it gets in your way, and it, you know, it's just kind of annoying. So I try to get rid of the excess as quickly as possible. And I could actually trim the rest of the fabric off to meet the stabilizer, but you know, I might actually use those little scrappy edges for something, so I'm not gonna cut those down yet. But I am gonna get rid of this tulle. The tulle scraps. Tulle, in case you don't know, is spelled T-U-L-L-E. It is not the same thing as netting. It is much finer than netting. It is literally the stuff that they make ballerinas' tutus out of. But it's a horrible fabric to sew with, honestly. Okay, so there it is. There's our piece. There's the back side. And what am I going to do with it? I don't know. I don't know. What I may do with it is put it on my copier and copy it and print out fabric with it. I mean, paper. I don't know. Anyway, it does feel sticky. Okay, let's see. Ruth says I'll find it for sure now that I've lost the first or bought the new one. They actually replaced it, so I did not have to buy it, which was really, that was really nice. Those things are $400 or $500. Those key fobs, it's crazy. Okay, I'm just looking. I don't see anything. Okay, that is that. So for it was raining, so Starla had to come in. That is it for me today. Thanks for hanging out, listening to my silliness, my customer service crazy, and my key fob crazier. I will not be here Friday. Mondays are done. We're not doing Monday nights anymore. I will be back in 2 weeks. Okay? 2 weeks. I'm going to go have Mother's Day with my granddaughter and her kids. All right? So it's good to see you all. Thank you for being here. Thanks for your patience and hanging out with me. And I will be back in 2 weeks. Until then, you know the drill. Be creative. Get creative. Oh, and also, if you haven't, if you enjoy quilting, I learned about a new channel, and his name is Brad, and he is, he's a young man who is relatively new in the quilting space, and he has an illness, and he is using his YouTube channel and videos as a way to keep himself sane and deal with his life journey. And he also has rescued animals. And any of you that know Kate at the Last Homely House, if you're familiar with her channel, she's the one I learned about him from. And I think the channel is Love You More by Brad or something like that. I'm not positive. Anyway, he's a very interesting young man to watch, and he does some really, really interesting things. So go check him out. But I think it's Love You More by Brad. Hi, Cheryl. And you can see there's a video that Kate put up about she rehomed her goose named Eileen She rehomed Eileen from her space to Brad's farm, rescue animal farm. And so there was a video of Eileen getting in the transport truck and being moved, and then a video that Brad filmed of Eileen coming there. It was really interesting. Thank you. Thank you, Barbara Clark. That's it right there. So anyway, he's not been doing videos for a long time, for very long, and he's not been doing quilting and sewing for very long. And so I encourage you to go check him out. Okay? Give him some support. I think he's worthy of that for sure. Okay, that's enough from me. Remember to get creative today because you know it's easy. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.